Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder if your thoughts can actually change how you feel right now? Even when you are not trying to, well, this new study might have a clue. Imagine your mind is like a river constantly flowing with thoughts. Sometimes that river carries calm waters, and other times it gets a bit choppy. This research digs into how we might be unconsciously managing those choppy waters. Just by the way we think, they're asking a big question: can we actually see through the words we use when we're just letting our minds wander? How we're regulating our emotions. So what did they do? Think of it like this. They asked a bunch of people to just talk out loud about whatever popped into their heads for a few minutes. It is called a Think-Aloud task. They did this over and over, sometimes after making participants feel a bit down. Then, they looked super closely at the words people use. They used fancy computer programs to analyze not just what people were thinking about, but also how their thoughts move from one idea to another. They trained computer models to recognize patterns in the language that might signal someone was trying to manage their feelings. What they found was pretty neat. They identified 6 main ways people seem to try and manage their feelings without even realizing it. These include things like acceptance, basically just letting the feeling be, rumination, dwelling on negative feelings, savoring, enjoying good feelings, reappraisal, trying to see things differently, and distraction, thinking about something else. What is really cool is that the language people used when they reported using these strategies matched what the computer models predicted. For example, when people said they were ruminating, their thoughts tended to be negative and stuck in a loop, just as you'd expect. How do these strategies show up in our thoughts? Well, it's a mix of what we think about and how our thoughts flow. They found that acceptance, for instance, involved thoughts that were a bit more reflective and had fewer transitions into negative states. Rumination, on the other hand, was all about repetitive negative thoughts and getting stuck in negative emotional loops. Savoring was linked to positive thoughts and staying focused on those good feelings. Reappraisal involved more self-focused thinking and a shift towards more positive emotional journeys. Distraction, interestingly, was about broader, more varied thoughts, helping to move away from negative feelings. Now, here is where it gets really impactful. They looked at whether the way people naturally thought and regulated their emotions affected how they felt afterwards. And guess what? It did. When people's thought patterns showed signs of acceptance, reappraisal, or savoring, they tended to feel better afterwards. Think of it as their thoughts helping to boost their mood, but when people were showing signs of rumination, they didn't improve as much, or sometimes even felt worse. This suggests that the subtle ways we think can have a real immediate impact on our emotional state. Even more importantly, they found a connection between these spontaneous thought patterns and long-term mental health. Specifically, people whose thinking showed more signs of rumination also tended to have higher levels of anxiety. Conversely, those who showed more acceptance, reappraisal, or savoring in their spontaneous thoughts had lower anxiety. This is a really powerful finding because it suggests that the way we do our thinking, even when we're not consciously trying to fix our emotions, can be a window into our overall mental well-being. It's like our everyday thought habits are shaping our vulnerability to things like anxiety over time. What's also significant is that these patterns in spontaneous thought predicted emotional outcomes better than just asking people, "Did you try to regulate your emotions?" This is a big deal because it means we can potentially learn a lot about someone's emotional regulation by just listening to them think, without them even having to be aware they're doing it, or without them having to accurately recall their strategies later. Self-reports can be tricky because we don't always remember things perfectly, or we might not even realize we're doing something. But the language itself seems to hold a clearer signal. So, what does this all mean for us? The big takeaway is that emotion regulation isn't just something we consciously decide to do. It is woven into the very fabric of our spontaneous, everyday thinking. The way our thoughts flow, the words we choose, even the topics we drift towards, can all be clues to how we're managing our feelings. This research gives us a new lens to see this, not through what we say we do, but through what we actually do in our minds. Now, every study has its limits. One thing to consider here is that when you ask people to think aloud, it might change how they naturally think. Talking about your thoughts might make them a bit more organized or deliberate than if you were just letting them flow in private. Also, the computer models were trained on people's own reports of their strategies. And as we know, self-reports aren't always perfect. So, while these signatures are powerful, they're based on the best available information. But the implications are huge if we can identify these emotion regulation signatures in our thinking. It opens up new possibilities for understanding and even helping people. Imagine a tool that could listen to someone's thoughts and help them understand their own patterns of emotional regulation without them feeling stressed about it. It could revolutionize how we approach mental health. This research is a big step in showing us that our spontaneous thoughts are not just random noise, they are active participants in shaping our emotional lives and our overall well-being. What do you all think? Does this resonate with your own experience of thinking and feeling? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this interesting, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to Rubin's Mind Lab for more fascinating science, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the human mind. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.